Hello, and welcome to another Marvel Snap video. On this account, we recently hit the 5,000 credit cap, and are now ready to leave Pool 1 and get into Pool 2. We'll be opening a bunch of mystery cards and see what we can put together to start. First card is Storm. Wow, what a fantastic first card. On reveal, flood this location. This next turn is the last turn cards can be played here. Great for disrupting the opponent. If you can put more power into this location than they can, then no additional cards can be added, and it's a fantastic control card. Next up, we have Sunspot. At the end of each turn, gain +1 energy for each power unspent. A fantastic one-cost card that continues to have value late into Pool 3. Although in Pool 2, Killmonger is running around, so this is not an auto win, but it's still a fantastic card to add to the collection. Next we have Vision. Can move this each turn. Because you play it on turn 5, you can't get too many moves out of it, but there are some things you can do with it. Next up we have Ebony Maw. You can't play this after turn 3, and ongoing you can't play cards here. A difficult card to use, but 7 power for 1 energy is very strong, and if you can make use of it, it will be a great inclusion in the deck. Next up we have the Collector. Whenever a card enters your hand anywhere except your deck, +1 power. Fantastic in Devil Dinosaur strategies. Then we have Hobgoblin. On reveal, your opponent gains control of this. A great way to impact the board without taking up one of your locations. Although if they fill up their side, you have to keep this -8 body, so it's difficult to use, but very powerful. Next up we have Scorpion. On reveal, afflict cards in your opponent's hand with -1 power. Just a fantastic 2-cost card that will see play in a lot of Pool 2 decks. Then we have Leech. On reveal, remove the abilities from all cards in your opponent's hand. This can be very devastating, but the 3 power for 5 energy is difficult to use, but it's not a card to overlook. Then we have Bucky Barnes. When this is destroyed, create a Winter Soldier in its place. The Winter Soldier has 6 power, so for 2 energy, if you can get this destroyed, this is a very powerful card. Then we have Jubilee. On reveal, play a card from your deck at this location. If you build your deck around this, this can be quite a powerful play. There's some variants, but Jubilee definitely has her uses. Next up we have Iceman. Give a random card in your opponent's hand, +1 cost. Just a fantastic disruptive 1-cost card for Pool 2, and this card continues to see play later in Pool 3 as well. And our last card is Nakia. On reveal, give the 2 leftmost cards in your hand +2 power. This has a lot of implications. There's cards that really appreciate this buff, and now that with the latest change you can control which cards get the buff, there's a lot of things you can do with Nakia. That's all the cards we have unlocked for now. Let's get building. So here's the deck we ended up building with the new Pool 2 cards that we received. We are combining a bit of a destroy package with a disruptive Storm and Heimdall shift package. The destroy cards involve Nova, who when destroyed gives your cards +1 power, and Bucky Barnes, who when destroys creates a Winter Soldier in its place. Bucky Barnes costs 2 and has 1 power, but the Winter Soldier has 6 power and is great value if you can get it destroyed. Our 2 destroy cards are Carnage, who destroys all other cards and gets +2 for each destroyed, and Deathlock, who just destroys all other cards at the location, but has more power to compensate for the downside. But because we actually have cards that we want to destroy, we can turn these effects into upside. They also have the added benefit that if we get squirrels or raptors from locations that could potentially impact our ability to move cards, we're able to just clear them out of the way. Then we're using Storm, who on reveal flood this location. Next turn, this is the last turn cards can be played here. Not only does this overwrite the location, it prevents the opponent from playing cards there after the following turn. And we can follow that up with high power plays of our own, or we can force the opponent to overcommit to that location, and then on the last turn actually leverage Heimdall to just move our cards one location to the left. That way we can catch them by surprise by shifting where our power is positioned. To round out the deck, we just have some efficient and high value cards. One of the new cards we got, Iceman, a fantastic 1-cost card. Give a random card in your opponent's hand plus 1 cost. I think of this as being similar to Korg, except you're guaranteed to provide that level of disruption, and sometimes it can completely throw off your opponent's curve. We're also using Scorpion, who on reveal afflict cards in your opponent's hand with -1 power. The more cards they have in their hand, the more impact this has, and it just reduces the power of all of their future plays. Then we have Jessica Jones, just a fantastic 4-cost card from Pool 1. This is a great follow-up into the Storm lane, since you won't be able to play there the following turn anyways, and adding 8 power to Storm's 3 is typically enough to win the location. Then we have Iron Man, just a fantastic way to push power, and if we play this early, our opponent will avoid that location, but then Heimdall potentially can move it over and win the location that they ended up thinking that they were going to win. Gamora is also just a fantastic 5-cost card, gains +5 power if you predict where the opponent's going to play, and by turn 5, the board is much more established and it's easier to make that read. And then lastly, we have America Chavez, who you always draw on turn 6 and not before, just to help the consistency of our few discard effects and to make sure we see our Storm and Heimdall a little earlier so that we can start planning around them. With that, let's hop into some games. Our first location is Central Park, which is going to put quite a lot of squirrels on the board. Not really too happy about that, but we can get the Nova down. Maybe they'll Killmonger and clear our board for us. We end up drawing into the Heimdall, which is the reason we're playing the Destroy effects, because these squirrels are going to get in the way. They didn't play much, so let's get the Scorpion down early, impact as many cards in their hand as possible. They end up playing an Angela. We can play our Bucky Barnes out. We have decent odds of drawing a Destroy effect for next turn. They go with a Punisher. Jotunheim is going to start reducing our power here. So we can actually storm this away. We'll be able to follow that up with a Gamora. They play a Nova of their own. And we do end up drawing into a Carnage. So we can play Gamora out. Should win us the flooding, and then we can Carnage this location. Carnage will go up to 8. 9 after the Nova, and the Winter Soldier will also increase. They snap, but we're in a decent spot here. Carnage came a little too late for Heimdall to be useful. Oh, so they actually changed the location with Scarlet Witch, but we're still way ahead. And we're not going to be able to compete over Mojo World. But the Carnage will give us quite a lot of power on the board. And we'll remove 2 of the power from their Punisher. Crazy that our 2-cost card was more impact on the board than the high-cost cards we had in our hand. But we're in a very good spot to win Nidavellir, even if they manage to fill out the location. They're going to have to be scared that we put a card or 2 into Mojo World, so they'll end up likely committing there. They'll likely give up on Nidavellir and also commit something to the Central Park. So they go with a Shang-Chi, which destroys our Gamora, which gives them a little bit of an edge in Nidavellir. But Carnage is going to go off, we're going to get the Nova buff to all of our units, and we get the Winter Soldier, and we take the game. The Shang-Chi was a good play taking that power away, but we were able to leverage the Nova that we played on turn 1 on the final turn to buff up all of our characters. Let's hop into another one. The first location revealed is Death's Domain. We'll actually be able to leverage the Heimdall to move units into it. So for now, let's lead with the Iceman into the mystery location. This might get us some power into Machine World before it's revealed. And they play an Ant-Man to Death's Domain. Probably a bot. But they do pull the Angel out, so maybe that was intentional. We end up getting a Nova. Drawing the extra card makes us much more likely to find one of our destroy effects. If it's the Carnage, we wouldn't mind putting it to the Iceman lane, but let's throw the Nova into this mystery location. We'll be able to put the Bucky Barnes into Death's Domain as well. They play a Sentinel, adding another Sentinel to hand. And it does end up being Machine World. So for now, let's go with the Scorpion. We'll reduce the power of the cards in their hand. They reveal first, so if they play another Sentinel, we'll get that copy as well. So they go with a Cord, which puts a rock in our deck, and then they give us a Lizard. Let's play Jessica Jones. That should be a good power push here. And then we'll have to see what we do about winning another location.
Opponent snapped.
We can play the Deathlock and a Lizard. That will buff up all of our units and give them a Deathlock, which will be hard for them to play, and give them back another Lizard. And here's where we can put Heimdall to work for us. We know they have 10 power here. Heimdall will be 8, the Deathlock is 6, and the Lizard will go down to 2. That will still be 16, which is much higher than what they have available in Hell's Kitchen. And we can move 15 power over into Death's Domain. We could lose if there's a Spectrum, so I'll risk 4 cubes, but not the 8. They end up going with a Devil Dinosaur, winning Machine World. But Heimdall is going to shift everything over. And we end up winning the left and the center locations. Great showcase of how Heimdall can just completely flip the board and give you the win out of nowhere. Let's hop into another one. First location is Mojo World, which is going to want us to fill it up, which we're going to have a hard time doing since our destroy effects actually reduce the cards we have on board. For now, let's just pass. And we get the Danger Room. So for now, let's go with Bucky. We can follow that up with Nova into Carnage. Oh, they changed Mojo World for us with their Scarlet Witch, which is actually nice. So we would like to fill up the raft. So let's actually go with Iceman into Nova, and next turn play the Carnage.
Avengers! Assemble.
So now we'll play Carnage. Get our free 6-cost card. And we get a free Hulk out of the deal, which is pretty good. And their location is now capped out, but ours is not. So we can actually go with a... Let's go with an Iron Man. We then know for sure, even if they play a Blue Marvel or a Khazar, that we have the raft taken care of. And we can go with a Storm into a Hulk in the Danger Room, since they'll be not wanting to play here. And they play an Iron Man of their own. Opponent snaps. Yeah, we'll snap back and go Storm Hulk. That way, our cards can't get destroyed by the Danger Room, and they'll be unlikely to commit a lot of resources there. Maybe they thought we'd fight over Nidavellir and not risk having our cards destroyed. And yeah, they do have the Khazar to buff up their side. Ooh, and Magneto will actually pull in our Storm. That was their raft card. A pool 3, 6-cost card. But Nightcrawler will not be enough, and our free Hulk will win the game and get us 8 cubes.
Victory!
I hope you enjoyed the games. The deck still has a lot of room for improvement, and as we unlock more Pool 2 cards, we'll be able to tweak it and explore this strategy further. If you have any questions or feedback for me, make sure to leave those in the comment section below, and I'll be sure to respond to you. And if you enjoyed the video, don't forget to like and subscribe, and I'll see you in the next one.